everybody. Jay Rhymes here with the Periodic Review. I hope you all are having an incredible day. We definitely want to earn your subscription today, so if we haven't already, make sure to hit that like button, share with family and friends, hit that subscribe button, and as well, turn on notifications so you don't miss a content release. And that doesn't always work, unfortunately, so always check back on the channel to get updates. So, my kings and queens of the internet, we want to have some talks today on the podcast. I'm doing a very terrible job doing this intro.
I was like, I feel like we're a little all over the place, but
yeah, I completely forgot my script, and I'm like, I guess I'll wing it.
It's
and
like,
I did a terrible job.
Let's do it.
And just threw it out the window, and I was like, all right, well, we'll just do whatever.
Jacob got a haircut.
I got a haircut.
He's so pretty.
Do you feel bonita? I feel bonita.
I love that.
What is
trend.
that? What is that from?
It's from Family Guy.
Yeah.
Is what the audio is from, but I just keep hearing it on TikTok.
Yep, I've been watching those on TikTok too.
Do
I'm like,
you feel bonita? I feel bonita. Well, wonderful, because you
look
look bonita.
Exactly. So as we normally do, we talk a little bit about what's new with us. Hopefully we'll hear about what's new with you in the comment section down below. Today is Alakai's Day for topics. So after we go round robin, starting with Mr. Bryson, as Miss Rianne is out of country. She is visiting Italy on a one trip.
Say hi, Ghost Rianne.
Hello, Ghost Rianne.
Hi.
Hey, it's nice to see you. Oh, that's wonderful. It's good to know.
That's so sick.
I've turned into a schizophrenic.
He's like, I'm hearing the voices in my head.
I'm not schizophrenic, but the voices in my head tell me I am.
Listen to your heart. Okay. What's it saying? It's saying ba-bum. It's saying ba-bum.
So, Mr. Bryson, what's new in your world? Anything new with you?
Nothing super exciting. I pushed myself a lot at the gym this week. I feel pretty good.
Nice.
And so probably this week I can up the weights on quite a few things, which is nice. And then let's see what else. I have been working on this animation thing that I'm doing for our Guitars Unplugged event for the radio.
Yeah.
That we will get to do this week. So I'm super excited for that. I'm almost done with it, which, thank goodness, because it's so much work, but it's fun. And then, yeah, it's pretty much it. I saw Creed 3 on Friday.
Oh, Creed 3, the video game. I was thinking
the boxing one.
Oh, you mean the
boxing movie?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, not the
Jordan.
rock band from the early 2000s?
No.
Oh, okay.
I hate that
like
band.
the spin-off of Rocky.
With arms wide open.
Stop.
With arms
Stop.
wide open.
Stop.
Under the sunlight.
Stop.
I actually like Creed.
Have you seen like the
I hate
baseball
I love
video?
They have such
that he did?
great songs. Like, why do you hate them? Is it like a ideological thing, or did they do something political, or?
He just doesn't like them.
Let's let Bryson have his.
Okay, I
have his
apologize.
turn.
Have you seen
Bryson.
like the baseball video that they sung? And it's like a baseball bat.
No, I haven't.
I will have
but-
to find it. It's so funny. But yeah, I'm pretty much done. So
It's not as bad as look at this photograph.
look at this graph.
I would much rather listen to Nickelback than Creed.
You want that back nickel, huh?
That back nickel.
So the thing is with like Nickelback, that was part of my childhood. Like growing up and having like VH1 and MTV, some of their music videos would play every morning, and like that was just one of our things. Is in the morning, instead of watching cartoons, we'd have music videos playing.
Wow. You and I had very different childhoods on Saturday mornings for cartoons.
Saturday mornings were for cartoons, but like Monday through Friday when we were at school,
okay.
that was for
Okay.
Yeah, but no, like music videos were always a thing right before school, and Nickelback would come on every once in a while, and their music was fun. Like I would never go out of my way to listen to them, but I would much rather listen to Nickelback over Creed.
Hey, you want to be a rock star?
Look at this graph.
Look at this graph.
We're bad.
Yeah.
So what's new in your corner, Mr. Elikai?
Not really much. This week was spring break, which has been nice because got a little bit of a break. Also been preparing some very small set list for Guitars Unplugged.
I was gonna ask what you're gonna perform. You gonna do anything
So
cool?
so what I do is like the style of guitar that I play is called finger style guitar, and essentially I don't know how to explain that, but it's like
Is that what you tell the ladies?
That's what I was gonna say. I was thinking the same thing.
Sorry.
I know
bad.
everybody thinks it when I say it, but it's like well,
It's because we're all just messed up in the brain.
I know that's what
Yeah.
the style is called is
Yeah.
finger
It is.
style.
It
But
is. It is.
no, it's like I really don't know how to explain it, but it's like a combination of classical music with like street performing type of styles. So I use my guitar like when I play acoustic guitar specifically, I use it not only as a guitar but I use it as a drum as well. So I do like the whole scratching and slapping with my guitar because
Percussion.
she's a bad girl. Anyways,
Strings. Winds. Words. There you see her. Sitting there across the way. Such a classic. Anyway.
I haven't seen that movie. In
Damn
forever.
you, Disney. You've ruined everything.
Anyway, sorry.
I apologize.
Sorry. Go back to
Squirrel.
your thing.
But anyways, what I like to do is I like to take a lot of popular songs and then turn them into like fingerstyle versions on guitar. So it's like once you hear it, you're like, oh, I recognize that song, but it's on an acoustic guitar and like all the parts are there. So
I understood that
Yeah.
reference.
yeah, pretty much. I have like there are 2 songs because with every song is in a different tuning. So in between songs, I have to spend time like tuning my guitar. So I know I'm probably not going to have as much time to perform as everybody else is.
Yeah, because you have to tune it a little bit.
Yeah. So I'm trying to decide between 2 different songs. that
You're
I wanna
welcome to
do.
borrow
So
one of my guitars if you need to.
I will stick to my guitar because my guitar has 3 different pickups in it, and in order to pick up all the sounds
Oh, gotcha.
that I use with my guitar, every single sound has to be isolated.
Gotcha.
So,
Okay.
Yeah, I built my guitar specifically to be played in the style that I play it in. So,
Oh, that's cool. That's cool.
but
that's
yeah,
beautiful.
I'm excited for that. I'm also nervous because I haven't performed anything in like 5 or 6 years. So,
Right on.
Not much else is new. I don't really have anything. Oh shoot! I started rewatching the Hunger Games movies.
Really?
Just for
Nice.
just for shits and giggles. Actually, not bad. Like the first movie is so cheesy.
Oh, they are
So
all cheesy.
They're so cringeworthy. But then like Catching Fire was all right. I started watching Mockingjay a couple days ago, and I was like, oh, this ain't bad. But like,
No, it actually wasn't. It wasn't that bad.
no, the book. I remember reading the books. The books are really really good.
Yeah,
The books are really good. But
that is what I've heard as well.
yeah,
That is one book series I've actually read like all the books,
yeah,
which is kind of surprising.
that one and the Maze Runner series. I read all those.
I
books.
love those books.
Those are really
nice.
good. Yeah, Tiana's reading them right now.
Yeah.
So
The movies were not that great, unfortunately.
They were
not,
alright.
I'm not gonna lie.
They're
I
all
loved
right?
the movies.
You loved the movies?
I
They're
liked
all
the
right?
movies better than the Hunger Games.
I agree. I like the Maze Runner movies more than I like the Hunger Games movies.
Oh, interesting.
Granted, I'm a slut for Dylan O'Brien, but I mean,
That's true.
Daddy Brian.
Sexy man.
yeah, it's pretty much it in my corner. I don't really have anything else going on. So.
Right on, right on.
What's new with you, Jacob?
What's new with me? Well, I've been attempting to go to the gym. My goal is to at least hit 3 times a week. The
Just
previous
good.
week I hit 3. This week I only hit 2. It's been super busy at work. Like normal work week is like maybe around 500 stops, roughly about 100 a day. And this week it was like 670 something. Like it was closing in
wow.
on 700 stops. So it was a pretty crazy week. And so between that and then trying my my hardest to get like content out, it was a rough week. I really had to catch up this weekend, and then I just completely took Saturday off, and so all my catch up was today. So definitely be ready for some more clips, for the following week. So, what else? Gym, just trying to get like a good baseline where I'm starting from. So actually I'm trying out the way that you guys were talking about doing, like isolating like different parts of the body. So like I'm doing like lower body, like mid body, and then upper body.
Okay.
So that way I can get the hard stuff out of the way first, so the stuff that's more fun. And if I don't get to it, it's okay. But obviously I want to do like arm stuff and presses and such. What else? I am going to do my best to get my book copywritten this month. I've been putting it off for too long. Wife is on board, so I just need to do it now so I can get it going. I do have an editor for my book now, and they're working on it. We'll see how far that goes. I'm not making any promises, just because it's just been like one of those things that seems like I'd get somebody and then they get too busy, or they get a new job, or something would come up and I wouldn't have anybody. And so, but my goal is to get that copywritten so I can hopefully get that up on Kindle Direct, hopefully before mid-year.
That's awesome.
This year. So
what's your book about?
So my book, the working title is Vincent Gelding, in the shards of memory. Basically, it is a sci-fi fantasy teen novel. So
I like sci-fi.
Yeah, so it's a good blend of both sci-fi and fantasy. Instead of it kind of going one way or the other, I kind of tried to keep a good blend of the both. So there's some kind of medieval kind of stuff in it, but you kind of follow this kid
You're a wizard.
You're a wizard, Harry. So my character is in his young teens, or late teens actually, he's 17. And he is growing up in a society where the Praetorian Guard is kind of like has this very pivotal part in the society, where, and throughout history, they were the protectors of those that were in power, but they were more like advisors than anything. And what happened throughout the years is, as the governments and the different pieces of the government would get more and more corrupt, they became more protectors of those that are in power, both in political spheres and in business spheres. So they're just basically like kind of lapdogs for everybody that's in power and has lots and lots of money. And so they've kind of lost this group where this kid grew up in, training for. His father is the Grand Master, kind of thinking on like Asian culture, where you have the masters of like Kung Fu and stuff like that. So the Grand Master is like the leader of all. And and his son is basically growing up in this group. And they really want him to become a leader. They want to be just like his father, like a very great and powerful person, but he's kind of like really timid and really doesn't really understand his worth. He doesn't feel like he's a leader. And so he's trying to find himself, as far as like trying to be true to himself versus being, following in the footsteps of his father. And that's kind of where our story starts. They are attacked by an unknown enemy. And the unknown enemy is like these creatures that are kind of like formless, but they're kind of like shadowless creatures, both that seem a part of this world and those that don't. And they get attacked, and that's kind of where we start our story and follow our character Vincent, through what's going on.
Interesting.
Yeah, it has a
Sounds
trio.
cool.
It's a trio of friends, so he'll have 2 other friends that'll join him on his quest to find these memories, these memory shards, which are supposed to give them knowledge and understanding of who this enemy is and why they're being attacked. And so that's how the story plays out.
I like it. Sounds
Without
interesting.
getting into too many details.
He's like, I don't want to spoil anything.
And I don't want to get all
actually read it.
nerdy and like get like too
Explain
into
the
it.
lore and everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't take place here on this world. It takes place on another planet. And so these are humanoid people, very similar to us, just in a different galaxy.
That's cool though. Dude,
Far, far away.
He starts the book off like that.
Just kidding.
In a galaxy far, far away.
That's so awesome though. I've always wanted to like write something, but I don't think I could ever get myself to write something in like fantasy or sci-fi.
Mhm.
So that's awesome that you can do it, because I definitely can't. I think if I were ever to write a book about something, it would have to be it would be like something either I'd want to write something funny, or I'd want to write like a romance novel. I'll write.
Ooh, that would actually be.
I feel like I
fun.
would actually be pretty decent at writing smut.
Relatable.
Relatable.
Low key.
That's funny.
That's
Yeah.
Kai's secret way of telling us he's really good at sexting.
That's
So
not where
ladies,
that's not where I
wink,
was
wink.
going, but thanks. I think.
He can give you romance novels in through text message.
My number's in the link in the description.
Oh goodness!
I'm just kidding. Nobody,
so
nobody
that's-
try to find my number, please. No.
So that's what's new with me. So I'm kind of closing the chapter on this book, and I'm writing a different book right now. And this one's going to be more
Same
fantasy.
universe, or
no, different universe, different characters. It's going to be, instead of it being on another planet, this one's going to be on our planet, just a little bit in the future, maybe about 100 years in the future. So nothing too crazy on the sci-fi side, but it's going to be more fantasy.
We don't got
oriented.
webbed feet or nothing. Not yet.
No, but keyword and theme of this book is going to be dragons
Dragon.
in space.
dragging these balls all over your.
Got him.
Sorry.
I don't know
Kate.
why I'm thinking tea right now. Tea. What does the tea come in? A bag. That's what it comes in.
The
The
tea bag
bag.
you.
So, anyways, that's what's new with me. We know Rianne's out of town. She's out in Italy.
What a stinker.
I know. And she didn't want to bring the money to get me to go with her, but she was right to do so because it's expensive as hell.
I mean, it's any type of travel is going to be like, ugh.
yeah. So we kind of want to save money to visit family this year, so that's why I didn't go with her. Otherwise, it would have been thousands and thousands of dollars. So, but Mr. Alakai, you have some topics. You have some things on your mind.
Yeah, so I wanted to talk to you guys a little bit about like
Let's do it.
where Hollywood is going and this whole
Oh boy.
industry.
Oh,
and
goodness.
That of superheroes. Because I feel like
So specifically superhero movies and
Yeah.
tropes.
pretty much like superhero movies and TV shows, because at this point, honestly, there are only like a few things related to superheroes that I actually care about now. That's
Okay.
like Spider-Man. I will always watch
Always.
any kind of Spider-Man
I'm a
content.
shill for Spider-Man.
It seems
I-
like there's always a place for Spider-Man, no matter
Yeah.
like when or who plays it or
Yeah.
how they reboot it or whatever. It
I
seems
think
like there's
'cause-
always a place for Spider-Man.
Yeah, Spider-Man's the one that's just meant to target everybody, so
Right,
that
right.
one will always hit.
So
Yeah.
when Stan Lee made Spider-Man, like he wanted to make someone relatable versus like all these other superheroes that are not like
It's like a billionaire,
Very-
a super soldier.
very one-dimensional type
Yeah.
of characters, but with like Peter Parker, like it's a high school kid.
It's real
Right.
I
life
think-
problems
Yeah.
in a real life person.
Exactly. Yeah. And I know like I'm a sucker for Batman. I'll always watch anything that's related to Batman. So the Flashpoint movie that's coming out this year, I will probably watch that just because Michael Keaton's in it as Batman. So
It's true.
that's probably going to be 90% of the reason that I watch that movie is for Michael Keaton as Batman. I enjoyed the most recent Batman movie that came out with Robert Pattinson.
I love that movie.
I
know,
was
that's
pleasantly
very-
surprised. I was, but there were some things I was just like, eh. But,
That's fair.
overall, it was actually a pretty decent way to portray it for sure.
There are a lot of like divisive things in that movie. I loved it because it felt so different
To what
from
we've been getting.
Yeah, this felt like a noir film
Yeah.
versus like The Dark Knight is like a militarized version of Batman.
Which is basically all superhero movies nowadays, is they're very militarized.
And like Batman from like the Snyderverse, I like Ben Affleck as Batman. I think he does a great job, but it's like
I don't really care.
I think maybe it was the story,
Yeah.
honestly, because I think him as Batman is not bad. Like it's not.
He makes a great Batman and a great Bruce Wayne.
He's a pretty decent Bruce Wayne too. So
he's the kind of Batman like in the comics where it's the Dark Knight Returns, where he is old and he doesn't really care about life as much. So he's old, he's gritty, he doesn't pull his punches as much. So
and he kills people.
Exactly.
Straight up, this Batman kills people.
He actually kills people because anytime before that, Batman doesn't kill people. That's like his whole thing is he protects life.
Yeah.
And so having him in his early stages and not being like brought back from retirement and having him have like guns and stuff is not Batman.
Yeah. I would love to see the Flashpoint version of Batman where he has like dual pistols. I'd be down to see that kind of Batman.
Yeah, I think.
But
what was I going to say? I was going to say something. I forgot it. Go ahead.
Anyway, so Spider-Man is one, Batman is another. Doctor Strange. I will stick around for the say what you want about Multiverse of Madness. Watching that when you're
high off your mind.
It's a whole other thing, man. Like I enjoy watching the Doctor Strange movies. I think those are very enjoyable. So Spider-Man, Batman, Doctor Strange, and like the third party type of superhero movies, like The Boys. The Boys is
the ones that aren't like the mainstream comics.
Brutal for sure, but brilliant.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie, it is. Like, and every character there, you really want to kind of learn more about them and see what they do in the story. It's like one of those series that has superheroes that you're like, I kind of want to know what happens now. But it is pretty brutal. Definitely for adults.
I think in a way, The Boys takes place in like a like almost partially like a dystopian type of society where it's like the superheroes are in control, but they're also not really, because this company is kind of what is driving the whole thing.
It's meant to be like, what if superheroes actually existed and they were run by a corporation? And like a very corrupt corporation at that. It's like, what if Jeffrey Bezos just decided, let's make superheroes and like see what happens. And then they're completely controlled by these like corporate entities that only have personal interests in mind.
And Invincible. You guys see that show?
I love that show. The animated one.
Invincible.
It's on Prime as well.
J.K. Simmons voices
Omni-Man.
Yeah, I don't remember seeing that.
You got to watch that show.
Think,
Jacob.
Mark. Think.
That is probably one of my. That is my favorite Amazon originals. So good. They announced season 2 a couple months, or just barely a month ago, I think.
Yeah.
They announced season 2 is coming out.
This little mini year. Teaser.
Yeah.
Which I hate the animation in the teaser. It looks horrific.
I know.
But because like the original season is like very comic book-esque. It's very reminiscent of the older comic book shows like Justice League and Batman the Animated Series.
It feels like this teaser is kind of combining. It's trying to be like Into the Spider-Verse type of animation, but like keeping it.
Oh, it looked so sloppy. It looked like someone made that in their bedroom like in a day. Like,
I agree.
It was so like not cleaned up. Like all the lines are jagged and everything. I'm like, this is not good.
Yeah.
I remember now. Sorry.
Go ahead.
Okay. Jupiter's Legacy on
I haven't
Netflix.
seen that.
I don't think I've seen that one.
I heard that they canceled the series.
I think it was.
I just gave up. I was like, I'm not going to watch it if they're not going to do another season. I'm not going to watch it.
It was pretty decent though. I think overall I thought it was pretty good. Excuse me.
I've only seen the first season, but I really, really enjoyed Umbrella Academy.
Oh, I love that show. That one is one of my favorites.
It gets weird after season 1.
That's why I like it.
Like season 1 was like borderline above average, and then it kind of kept tapering off. Second season kind of went down. Third season went even farther down. I'm just like,
I enjoyed the first season. I thought it was great.
The first season is really good.
Yeah, that's fair.
It really is.
I really like when stuff gets really weird. That's why I like Doctor Strange. It's why I like the Umbrella Academy, because they kind of just decide screw it and do whatever they want. And that's kind of why I like it.
So what about like
but the storytelling doesn't stay consistent, and that's part of the problem. Like it's a really like the characters are really interesting. It's based off a graphic novel, but it gets to the point where just like, wait, that doesn't make sense. You know what I mean?
Okay,
Yeah.
so this is kind of where I wanted to go, because you have all these, like Marvel, for example. Iron Man, the first Iron Man, which kicked off the entire universe, came out in 2008, right? 2008?
Yeah, late 2000.
Yeah, so we've been going on with Marvel movies for the last 15 years. They've been successful, made billions and billions and billions of dollars.
Most profitable movie franchise in history.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
And
what
Avengers
Not even close.
just destroyed box office. Like every single one is like destroyed.
Yeah. I mean, like when Endgame came out, like remember, like everybody was going to see that movie multiple times. Like Top Gun.
You couldn't go and see the movie. Like I remember, like Rihanna and I had to wait like several weeks because we just couldn't get seat. Like we couldn't get tickets. We would try to get like a couple of days in advance. Couldn't get them.
Yeah. Remember, you and I went and saw Infinity War when we were.
We did while we were out in summer.
Yeah, you and I went and saw Infinity War, but I remember Endgame came out, and my sister and her husband and I, we all had to wait two weeks. We bought our tickets 2 weeks in advance because that's the first thing that was available.
Yeah,
and we like usually for stuff like that, we used to go and see like the opening premiere for movies like that, you know,
like Thursday night or
the night that it comes out. First showing, we used to be on that shit, like we couldn't get in, so we just waited 2 weeks to get into the next available showing. two goddamn weeks,
Gosh,
dude.
I'm trying to think of the last film that I actually saw like on the premiere. I think it was Lord of the Rings: Return of the King. Like I saw like a 12:01 showing.
Dude, that was 20 years ago.
I know. That was the last movie I legit like was like, okay, we're seeing this
the day of,
which is Friday morning at 12:01 a.m.
Yeah.
Bro, I could tell you recently the ones that I went and saw the day of. I saw the day of this last week with Creed 3. I watched it the day it came out.
Yeah.
Because I just decided after work, I'm like, you know what? I'm going to go watch this.
That's awesome.
So compare like all those movies to not as successful series. For example, the CW shows.
Oh, I hate those shows.
Oh my!
Batgirl, Supergirl.
Here's the thing. I liked the first couple seasons of Flash and the first season or two of Supergirl.
Yep, same.
And then after that, they all completely dropped off. I'm like, no, these are not good anymore.
Super woke.
Yeah, well, that's not it. But it was just like, it wasn't good storytelling.
Yeah.
It was, because they're CW shows, they lean into like that soap opera style, which really is how all CW.
Vampire Diaries.
Exactly, Supernatural, all those
Supernatural.
CW shows that are
shit.
exactly like that.
Yeah.
And they really leaned into it after those first couple seasons, and that's where they lost me. I'm like, this isn't, it's not like engaging TV anymore.
Yeah. So I think what got me into the CW shows in the first place, honestly, was Arrow. Like the first...
I did like the Arrow series.
The first 2 seasons of Arrow, I was all over that shit. So good. Especially because like Deathstroke, right? Yeah, Deathstroke is one of my favorite...
villains.
One of my favorite villains. Specifically one of my favorite Batman villains. Because it's like... mentally the Joker and Batman are at each other's throats, but like physically you put Batman and Deathstroke in a room, it's like good luck.
Yeah, because it's 2 ninjas going after each other.
Yeah, basically trained by the same crew, kind of the same, and have a very similar upbringing. They just kind of direct it at different things.
Yeah.
So the fact that they had Deathstroke, I was all over that shit. I was like, hell yeah, I'm watching that. Because do you guys remember Teen Titans, the animated series?
Oh yeah,
so good, so good. And like I remember Slade Wilson in that show was probably one of the most intimidating villains I had ever seen. Like to this day is still one of the most intimidating villains, just because I think it's just the voice. That voice actor did such a good job at like, I don't know how to explain it. He's just very chill, but like at the same time very menacing. Yeah, but
I kind of like that in bad guys when they're just kind of like, they're more cool than they are menacing. But like there's that darkness behind that cool voice.
I think a big example, I think of like Scar in The Lion King.
Yeah.
I think he's like
Yeah.
perfect at that.
Yeah.
He doesn't like really lash
in the
out.
background, in
He
the
doesn't-
shadows.
He doesn't lash out or get super angry. He's just like very particular.
Yeah.
And that's like way more menacing than like being openly just in your face violent kind of thing.
yeah. So, shit, I forgot where I was going. Oh yeah. So I feel like by the time the third season came around for the Flash and the Arrow, they started. The story became a little less believable.
Yeah.
Like the first 2 seasons, there were stories that I could actually get behind. Like it was stuff that I was down to follow and actually held my interest.
Yeah.
But the thing is, like, and you see it in comic books too. After a while, once like there's been so many issues released, it gets to a point where even the comic book stories get a little bit ridiculous. For example, I'll even call out Spider-Man. I'm not gonna lie, some of those clone comics, I love the clones
because they just have to try and do something new.
but they're absolutely ridiculous. Like the whole, I won't lie, the Scarlet Spider, like the full red suit with the blue hoodie, that's one of my favorite Spider-Man suits.
Yeah.
Shit's cool. but like that kind of shit is so ridiculous. It's just like, okay, now you guys are just doing it just to do it. And I kind of feel like that's where Marvel's going. It's honestly where DC is going at, or has always been going, if we're being completely honest. I feel like they've been trying to catch up with Marvel instead of like slowly incorporating.
That's such like a bad business practice, because they're just like, we got to compete with Marvel. I'm like, no, you don't. You're different characters. They're different types of stories.
Different, completely universe, different powers.
Exactly. Most DC characters were born with or cultivated their powers through like training.
Yeah.
Like Superman, Wonder Woman, Batman, they were either born with their powers or they acquired them.
Right.
Marvel heroes are humans who got their powers usually by accident. They're usually more as curses rather than gifts. And so they have to use them as gifts.
Yeah.
And so they're completely different kinds of stories. And so trying to make the same types of stories with them does not work.
Yeah.
And that's why DC keeps failing, because that's not
They're
their kind of
trying.
story.
Yeah.
Yeah. Think like Tony Stark, like he was always a genius, right?
Exactly.
He was always super smart, but he didn't really come up with the concept of Iron Man until he was a grown-ass adult.
He didn't apply himself really until he was captured for like 6 months.
But Tony Stark's counterpart in DC is Bruce Wayne, right? So Batman, this kid lost his parents when he was 8 years old, and at that point, that's when he decided that he was going to make the switch.
Exactly.
And he basically trained himself and like prepared his mind to become the Batman since he was 8 years old.
Yeah.
Like, so he was preparing for that shit when he was a kid.
Oh.
So compare, sorry.
No, you're good.
I'll finish my thought.
Okay.
Not Tony Stark. Captain America, Steve Rogers, Clark Kent, Superman. Like, Superman was born with his powers, and he kind of had to learn how to use them as a kid, and because he needed to learn how to live with that and how to control it. Steve Rogers, he always had a solid heart, but didn't get the powers until he was a kid going into the military. So
It's just completely different kinds of stories.
exactly. What were you going to say?
So I had two thoughts. My first thought was a very underrated kind of prequel story, Gotham. I don't know if you guys heard of that.
I've heard about that one.
That's about Jim Gordon and his partner, right?
Yep. So it's basically the story of Gotham before there was
Batman.
superheroes, before there was Batman, before there was the Joker. So it's actually kind of a cool story. And unfortunately, as it goes on, it doesn't get as good of a story, which for whatever reason, like every series, like
Is it
kind of
put
falls
on by
off after the third or fourth season.
Is Gotham a CW series or is it its own thing?
I think I want to say it's on Netflix.
No, DC would be owned by HBO.
Yeah, because it's Warner Brothers.
Yeah.
So
I'm looking.
Amazon?
No, it's on HBO.
HBO?
See.
Yeah, all the CW shows are on
I'm-
HBO.
anyways,
too.
that's
I'm seeing
it's a
which
pretty
studio it's
underrated.
produced
It's
under.
pretty underrated. I thought it was pretty decent.
Yeah.
And Jupiter's Legacy on Netflix is
Yeah,
actually pretty.
you brought
decent.
that up a few minutes ago.
Oh, I did.
Yeah.
Well, must be the wine talking.
Gotham was originally on Fox, actually.
Ah,
That's weird.
That is weird.
That's
Interesting.
suspicious.
That's suspicious.
That's weird.
Don't be suspicious. Don't be suspicious.
Um,
Well, what was my other thought? I had another thought. I don't think it was Jupiter Rising. It was or Jupiter's Legacy. It was a different. I'm sorry. But I think what the struggle is that ruined me for the CW was The Flash. You know, the first season was pretty good. The second season was very mediocre. The third season, you're just like, where are you going with this?
yeah.
Same thing with Supergirl. Same thing. Except for instead of that happening, the story kind of went good to mediocre in season 2. To season 3, they started just kind of going full woke. You know, all of a sudden her sister, oh, I'm gay. It's like, when did that happen? You just gave us 2 seasons of you having no relationship, and all of a sudden? So they didn't really like play out any kind of plot to help us get to where she was at, or where she struggled, or she always was. And so that was a really big thing for me. And it really bothers me because I feel like a lot of these different storytellings with LGBTQ, like, you know, individuals and stuff like that, I feel like you can do that and do it in a very good way. I think Schitt's Creek is a great example with David and Patrick's character. I don't know if you guys have seen Schitt's Creek.
I've seen clips. I haven't watched
I
the
haven't watched the show.
complete show.
I would definitely recommend it. It's probably my best example of saying that's how you develop a relationship.
Yeah.
You know, and it doesn't even matter. Like, it's just, you know, I mean, it is what it is.
See, even
Anyway.
like, I have a hard time with relationship development either way because it's like, I want to watch the show for the characters, but like, I want to spend time learning how you develop your connection too. So.
Oh yeah, even yeah, definitely. Any kind of relationship, you need to watch it develop
Yeah.
to get to the point where you want to bring it to, instead of just saying, "Here it is,"
Yeah.
which is how storytelling is done as of late, unfortunately.
Which this is a topic that I want to come back to later if we make it to the third topic. But
Okay, deal.
So I want a yes or no answer from you guys. Are you guys getting kind of tired of the superhero movies? I know, like, for me personally, I don't really give much of a shit about the Marvel movies after Endgame. I went and saw Ant-Man a couple of weeks ago, and the only thing that I liked about that movie was Kang. That was the only thing that I cared about in that movie was Kang the Conqueror. That was the coolest shit. But like most of the
guy
stuff
that he played him was awesome.
He was-
Jonathan Majors. Oh, he's a great actor.
He was
Super
phenomenal.
cool, just very like
he's in
menacing. Like
I was intimidated by him.
He's
I
in-
was actually.
he's
he
actually
stole the
in,
show, in my opinion.
He's actually in Creed 3 as well as the other boxer.
Who does he play?
What's his name? Damien, I think is his name.
Is that the brother or the
The friend who's like a
Okay,
brother. Yeah. But he was really good in that one too. He's just a really good actor.
Yeah. There are not a lot of Marvel villains that I get intimidated by anymore. Like Thanos was the closest. Like
Yeah.
Infinity War came out. That was his movie. Kang the Conqueror. I was like, okay,
and-
he's probably gonna kill Scott's daughter, and I believe him.
Yeah,
I
and-
totally believe him.
Yeah, and he's a different kind of villain when it comes to these movies. Thanos was very behind the scenes. We didn't really get a lot of him until Infinity War. Like, we
Yeah.
heard of him and we saw bits and pieces, but we never really knew
Yeah.
who he was. Kang is meant to be a very upfront and present villain.
Because he exists
So-
in every universe.
So we'll see him a lot.
And that's
Yeah.
going to be interesting because
Yeah.
like the whole multiverse thing, this is the problem that we had growing up with Star Trek. Now, I don't know if any of you guys remember anything with Star Trek, but
I watched the
every
new
single Star Trek, as soon as you get to the point where it's bending time and traveling forward and backward through time, the storytelling starts to get really mushy.
Yeah, you have
and
to
not very
plan it out a
consistent.
lot.
You have to
Yeah.
really plan that shit out. Like,
I think the last movie I saw that actually did the whole weird time thing really well, Interstellar.
Interstellar did
Did
do
a
a really
great
good
job
job.
with that.
I feel like
have a
Doctor
hard
Who
time.
does a pretty good job because you can kind of go wherever in the universe.
Yeah.
Doctor Who.
Doctor
yeah.
Who?
They kind of accepted that.
Yeah.
Theirs was
They kind of
just
embrace it. And
yeah,
so,
they're like, it's going to be weird. And so it's
You're
going to
gonna
go
go-
everywhere. You're going to be confused.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
fine.
So,
Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie. I'm at the point where I'm getting mostly tired of a lot of these superhero movies and TV shows.
That's fair.
Where are you guys at? What do you think?
I'll let you go first, Bryson.
Okay. Well, I would actually say the same. Even being a huge fan of all the superhero stuff, I watch them all. I see all the movies. I see all the TV shows. I like all the characters. I am a fan, and I will still watch them. However, I am very much aware that they're all kind of formulaic, and it's kind of just what they are at the moment, and I'm hoping they get more experimental and risky again and try different things.
Yeah.
But I am definitely tired of the current form that superheroes are in.
Yeah.
I want them to change, and I'm hoping they will take more risks, a lot like how Into the Spider-Verse does, and The Boys, and Invincible, and these other third-party shows that are taking more risks and trying to do different things.
And doing pretty good
They're
at it, too.
superheroes. Exactly. And they're doing good. It shows that there can be a lot of benefit from trying different things.
Yeah.
I want them to get experimental. Even if it doesn't always make them the most money, it's different. I want them to try new things. And so I'm a little bit sick of superhero movies, but I'm still kind of hopeful that they'll
Yeah.
change it up a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would probably preface it with this because I definitely agree. Everything after the Avengers, was there four? Was there four
Endgame?
films?
Yes,
So
there's been 4.
It feels like side
Everything-
quests after you finish the main mission.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I kind of feel like for lack of a better phrase, they kind of blew their proverbial load with
Yeah.
just doing those the
Infinity
Avengers.
Saga.
The saga, because like now they're like they've told the story of the Avengers, right? Is there really any more
Yeah.
story to tell after that? So now we're just like
Yes and no.
yes and no.
Yeah.
Okay, so then they're just basically going off on these different side characters, and then they're not implemented into the Avengers
Like
saga.
the main continuity
Yeah.
story.
The
So-
big four.
Yeah. So that's kind of a problem because there's not really any interest into learning anything about those.
Yeah, that's kind of the
characters.
thing, because we're at the point, because we went through that whole big timeline thing,
Yeah.
because that was like their goal for like those 10 years.
Yeah.
And so we're back. I think what's kind of made people really disappointed is we're back to the point of basically being like how we were in phase 1 with the original Iron Man. We have to it's essentially you're starting over. Like it's
Yeah.
almost rebooting in a way. Like they're not, because everything's like still in this main continuity, but they're having to reboot story essentially because they have to start from scratch. So like this phase, it's like setting up things. It's all the individual stories. So it's like Loki, Moon Knight, Spider-Man, Miss Marvel, all these things that will eventually lead to somewhere, but we're at this beginning stage and we don't really know
Right.
what's happening. So we kind of have to just wait, because like this stage that we were in, because it was phase 4, is like the phase of grief. It's everyone feeling the grief after Endgame and all the crazy war that just happened. And so now
Yeah.
we have to build it back up into this new storyline. We have
Yeah.
to build that momentum again. And so I think that's kind of what has
Yeah.
disappointed everybody, is because
Well,
it went so high and then it's dropped off, but it will go back up again.
yeah, I think that's fair. Also, Thanos was just kind of okay for a villain for me.
Mm-hmm.
I thought the guy
Josh Brolin.
who was the blue guy with the big hammer that had one of the Eternity crystals. Who was that?
Oh, Ronan?
Ronan. I thought he was more interesting than than Thanos, in my opinion.
Dude, Ronan, are you kidding me? Ronan was like one of the most two-dimensional characters.
I know, it was
One-dimensional,
just-
even.
He was just very interesting for me, even though
That's fair.
he wasn't a big pivotal part, except for just to get the
Yeah.
crystal from him. I thought he was more menacing than Thanos,
You know
in my
who,
opinion.
I do think is like the most menacing though?
No, who?
The Green Goblin. Specifically,
Oh my
specifically
God.
Willem Dafoe's Green Goblin. He is way scarier than anyone else.
Yeah.
I
in
think I
terms of
agree
villain.
with
Yeah.
you there for sure.
Like Joker can sometimes be scary, but it depends on his depiction. I think Willem Dafoe's Green Goblin, the live action Green Goblin, beats that every time.
Yeah.
He is just so insane, and
Yeah.
it's the split personality thing, so you don't really know if it's the Goblin
Well-
or if it's Norman. I think he's so much more menacing.
Call him.
Even
Call
in
him.
the original first Spider-Man, we spent a lot of time with Willem Dafoe's character.
Exactly.
So, like, Peter Parker got quite a bit of development in that movie, yeah.
Mhm.
But I feel like Willem Dafoe's character, Norman Osborn, got just as much development in
Oh,
a
yeah.
sense. We get to see a full story of him, like, inventing this serum
Mhm.
and the whole super soldier type of thing. We get to
and
see it go.
and seeing his descent into
Yeah.
madness.
Yeah, we see
Yeah.
that whole story, and then we get to see the full circle and have it come around to his death and how that affects his son. And
Mhm.
yeah,
That's his story arc was
so good.
absolutely good.
yeah,
It was very, very good.
It
I
is
wish
early 2000s shit too.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I really wish we'd have more development of the bad guy. Like I feel like
Yeah.
it's like, well, people know who the good guy is. Everybody know who's the
I
bad
really-
guy. So they just kind of play it out where you follow the hero most of the time, interjects bad guy or the antagonist, and they have
That's,
a battle. and
that's
they
usually
win.
like
They
just
get
the
girl.
same thing as the
Yeah.
hero, just evil.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like my grandmother, like bless her heart, she is
Is
so
she a villain
smart.
that's getting a lot of development?
No, she's she's very, very smart because when I started writing my book, she told me very specifically, she said, the only way you're going to have a good story is if you have a good villain.
That's true.
Yeah.
And I was like, that is some great advice. So my villain is very well developed in the book.
Mhm.
And you get to really see
I love when
the
you-
backstory.
when there's
and
actual
how they became who they
intentions.
became
Mhm.
and what were they reasoning, and like you get to see all that in my book, which
Like,
is really cool.
The intentions behind the villain's
The
motives
why, yeah.
are like,
And
make sense, and you can relate to them in a sense, too.
Exactly. That's really important too, because the reader, even though they're rooting for the hero to to overcome the protagonist to overcome the antagonist, like you want to understand, and when you do, you go, man, I feel so freaking sorry for the bad guy, because it's
Exactly.
like, if they had just had a different outlook or a different
Exactly.
thought
You-
process, they could have been a hero.
You can understand that in their mind, they're in the right. They're
Yes.
like, I'm doing this for the greater good,
Exactly.
rather than everyone just thinking they're evil.
I'm
Yeah.
just bad.
Like, so
Exactly. How
great-
bad can I be?
Great example. You watched Game of Thrones. Bryson, did you watch Game of Thrones?
I've watched a little bit.
yes.
Okay. So Jaime Lannister's character, you guys are familiar with him?
Yeah.
Yes.
A
Okay.
douchebag.
So, yeah, but I mean, like the third season, there's a moment. There's that moment when he's in the tubs healing with Brienne of Tarth, and they're having that story.
Oh, yeah.
He's explaining to her why he killed the Mad King, and it's like, oh my God, that makes sense. And now I actually feel bad for you, and I
Yeah.
think I might even be on your side a little bit here.
Yeah, because he's
Like-
carried that burden all of his life, being the
Yeah.
Kingslayer, and so everybody thinks he's just absolute garbage.
Yeah, and then, so it's like that whole story kind of like it makes the audience take a complete 180 in the
Yeah.
perspective of him, and
It's
you
such
go
a
from
great
like
twist.
yeah, because I remember that he told that story after he got his hand chopped off, so it's like everybody when they see that scene, it's just like, ha, yeah, you deserve it,
Yeah.
and then you hear him tell that story, and it's like,
Well,
I actually feel kind
of
of bad for you now, like,
yeah.
yeah.
I love those kind of thought processes for characters that are
You get to actually know who they are.
yeah.
Freaking
But I'm sorry, I forgot to give you my my reasonable yes or no. Am I
Yes.
tired of superhero movies? I'm tired of bad superhero movies.
Yeah.
And bad superhero series because I feel like even I'm sorry, I'm sure I'm gonna get some hate for this, but there are some bad parts in the Infinity Wars canon and saga.
100%.
Yeah,
There's a lot
Yeah,
of places
I-
where we're
I
just
agree.
like, I don't know if I can get you there, and I don't really, see where that connects to
Yeah.
here very well. So I don't think anybody's really done it perfect yet.
Nah.
But I agree. I don't like the formula. I do think we need to, start taking some chances and actually develop these characters a little bit more, bringing a little bit more drama into the action-packed fighting.
Exactly.
Just
It doesn't always have to be an action movie with a little bit of drama added in. It could be a drama
with some action.
just having superheroes in it.
Yeah.
And that's what I loved about Man of Steel. And
Yeah.
I'm so sad that there's not going to be a follow-up to that one because
I actually
Henry Cavill
loved
is
Henry
not
Cavill as
going to be
Superman.
Superman anymore.
Man of Steel is probably in my top 3 superhero movies. Probably even in my top 3, like just straight up comic book movies.
Really? Oh, okay.
I'll put Man of Steel. I'll put Man of Steel in one of my top 3 favorite comic book movies.
Yeah, it's definitely in my top 5 for DCU
Yeah.
for sure. Like I think that one, the first Wonder Woman,
I love
and
that one.
Shazam are
Yeah.
probably my 3 tops.
Yeah,
I haven't
for
seen
sure.
Shazam.
The first one,
It's
second
pretty
one,
good.
like I'm stoked for the third. I'm going to be honest with you.
Okay, I want to go through and then we'll move on to our next topic. So
Oh, okay.
I want to hear what your guys' favorite, like all time, if you had to choose one, your favorite comic book movie of all time. Mine's V for Vendetta. Bryson, what's yours?
Into the Spider-Verse, not even a question.
Hell yeah, I knew that was going to be your answer
Yeah.
too.
That's
Yeah.
a good one. I didn't
Have-
realize that was a comic book. Like, was it like a?
V for Vendetta? I didn't realize that was a comic book.
Is
either.
that
Yeah, it's a comic
technically a
book.
superhero?
I guess yeah. In a way,
Well, it
he
is a
is.
novel.
He does classify as a vigilante. Just
Yeah.
because. Have you guys seen that movie? V
I
for
have.
Vendetta?
I have.
So good.
Such a great
So
film.
good. You know what's funny is it takes place in 2020,
That's hysterical.
and there's a virus that breaks out, and it's run by a man that is just absolute bonkers.
I often wonder if some of these films that are being created are like self-prophesying, like
Low key,
Oh,
kind of.
V
like
for
low-key,
Vendetta was
like-
actually a DC Comics.
Yeah.
really.
Yeah.
I did not know that.
Yeah, it
I don't know
was,
if I'd consider it a superhero movie.
I can't.
but
Bryson, can you tell me who the author was of
it's a
that comic?
it's a great film.
Yeah, it's Alan Moore.
Alan Moore. Exactly. Yeah. Alan Moore is a great storyteller.
I think what other things has he done?
I'm
V for
blanking.
Vendetta,
Superhero-
Swamp Thing. He's done Superman.
Favorite superhero film
Yeah.
Or even just comic book film.
or comic book film?
I know a lot of people are going to be like Scott Pilgrim.
I have not seen that, and everything I see of it, I'm like, I don't know if I'd like this.
It's ridiculous. Bryson, I think you would actually would
very-
like it just because of how ridiculous it is.
That's
It's
fair.
very stylized and it's very over the top.
Mhm.
It's
We'll watch it one of these days.
Heck yeah.
It's a
One
fun
of our
film.
movie nights.
It's a fun film. You'll enjoy it, I think, once you get into it. I might need a minute.
Mhm.
Because I don't think any of the Avengers films would be
On your top.
no.
I think my favorite Avengers film is probably going to be the first Iron Man.
Ooh.
I love
Like
that
in the
movie.
MCU, the first Iron Man
That
is
one's
probably
really
going to be
solid.
my favorite.
Like X-Men First Class was a pretty solid film.
That's a really
Oh,
good one,
yeah.
actually.
That's
yeah.
a very solid film.
I'm not
And,
gonna lie,
like,
I love James McAvoy.
Yeah.
as
Yeah, he's a
Professor
good.
X.
He makes a good Professor X. Yeah.
Yeah, like he, oh, man,
I mean, he's great in everything that he does. I
That's
love
so true.
James
He's just
McAvoy.
such a good actor.
Yeah. His Dark
Logan,
Materials, dude.
Logan
Oh my
was
God.
really good too.
Oh, I love that movie.
Logan's
Damn
really
it!
good.
There's so many good
That's
ones.
a damn near perfect movie.
That one's a 9 out of 10 on
I
my
think I
scale.
concur. I think that was a pretty solid film, and I don't think there's a lot of places you can say
Yeah.
Like,
that was bad or terrible.
Yeah.
Some of the
Yeah.
some
Like
of the
it-
sequences of him
yeah,
like shredding through the helicopter. That's pretty dumb.
yeah.
Anyways, goodness, what?
Yeah.
It's hard to say.
Damn. Yeah, we don't really talk about the X-Men movies all that much, and they're great movies.
Yeah,
Mhm.
Not all of them, but I mean,
No,
most
not-
of them are pretty
no.
solid.
I would probably say at least a third of them, maybe 25% were decent.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Unfortunately, it was a lot like the the DCU stuff when they first started out, and it was just like
And eventually they just start doing shit just to do it.
Yeah, they wanted stuff to go really big, but they never really caught on like a lot of the
Yeah.
other stuff.
Yeah, like if they had started X-Men from First Class, I think
Mhm.
that could have been a really good saga if they had
Yeah.
started there. But
Rather than
unfortunately-
trying to switch the timeline thing around like how they
Yeah.
did when those ones came out. They were like,
Yeah.
"This is a different timeline."
yeah,
Da 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 da. Whatever.
Yeah,
Yeah.
shit's hard. It's really hard. It gets very risky once you start to include a multiverse.
yeah,
Just
you
like,
really have
Yeah.
to plan it.
Yeah, I'm
because
so
there's so
worried.
many storylines that you have to keep track of.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm worried for the MCU, but I mean,
If I have to
Anyways.
pick one,
yeah, you got to pick one, dude.
I gotta pick one.
You got to pick one.
I think I'm gonna say Man of Steel
Yeah,
because
That's
I feel
fair.
like it had a really good balance of drama and action.
That's
Like
fair.
a lot of great story, like progression with each character. Like
it's one of the only DCU movies where you feel like you can kind of relate to the
Yeah.
character to an
Mhm.
extent.
yeah,
And it's the first time that you feel like you can relate to Superman.
yeah, and it was
Yeah.
out of the formula too. It wasn't
Yeah.
like within the whole, like Marvel, Disney, like XYZ. This is how you do it, kind of a deal.
Mhm.
Like it was
And when-
away from the funny puns. Like
I
it
think-
was away from all.
Didn't
It was
Man
more
of Steel come out
serious.
before any of that?
It was the
No.
first
Can't remember.
like DC.
I was way wrong. It was in 2013. It was
Yeah.
after the first Avengers.
It was the first
Yeah.
like DC EU movie
Yeah.
that came out. I remember
EU, like Europe, like European?
extended universe.
Oh.
Yeah, so we have the
Cinematic
Marvel
universe.
Cinematic Universe, and then they made it the DC Extended Universe.
I was
Okay.
talking to a very close friend of mine, and I had the argument that Superman's character Clark Kent is not a relatable person, and his argument that he was the most relatable character ever because he's a kid that grew up in a small town. He just
In-
wants to have a
in
job.
in the comics, he's really relatable.
Yeah.
In the movies,
Yeah.
he is not. Because
Yeah.
in the movies, they make Superman a god.
Yeah.
He is not a god. I mean, he has the powers of a god. But Superman in the comics, he is a human first. That is
Right.
why people love him, is his humanity.
Right.
He values life above all else, and he always wants to solve
Yeah.
the problem. Zack Snyder does not understand Superman. He makes him a god among men.
Right.
He gives him no emotion and says he kind of almost like as if he despises the human race, essentially, which is not how Superman is. He
Yeah.
loves so much about being a human.
Yeah.
And so I love Man of Steel, and I think Henry Cavill is a good Superman. But it's way out of the realm of what Superman actually is as a person.
Yeah.
I don't
I say Peter Parker's the most relatable. I think.
I agree.
Yeah, I never really got the vibe that Henry Cavill's version of Superman hated humanity just because.
Not
of the first
exactly
movie,
that.
but,
That
like,
was like me
But
like taking it.
Snyder's, yeah, I would definitely agree with Snyder's version of it. I would,
I
could see that.
Mhm.
but Man
like,
of Steel definitely not.
what I do like about Superman's character is like he's relatable in the sense that he's a kid from a small town,
Mhm.
wants to move to a city, have this big time career as a journalist.
Mhm.
That's most of our dreams as college kids is like
what
especially
I-
Cedar City, like we're in a small-ish town. and
That's
we
what
wanna-
I actually
Oh, we're
kind of
definitely a small town. For
I
sure.
find really funny because I think Superman and Spider-Man are like it's Superman, Batman, and Spider-Man are the top two most liked superheroes
Yeah.
Yeah.
of all time.
Yeah.
But what I find hilarious is Superman and Spider-Man are very alike in their human identities.
Yeah,
They're
say
both
they work for
humanistic
journal.
they're
exactly.
human
They're both like
characteristics.
journalistic type characters.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I got you.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah.
I could talk about superheroes all day. I'm a nerd like that.
Too. As a Spider-Man, I could talk
I really
about.
hope that they come out with some better films, but I don't.
Yeah.
I think we're on the cusp of things to start changing because I think
Yeah.
Disney has lost enough money now where they're
Yeah.
like, oh shit, like how much have they lost now? About 50 billion
Have they?
in revenue between losses of subscribers from Disney Plus and
Yeah.
low attendance in movie films.
I am hopeful for a lot of movies like the Matt Reeves version of Batman.
Oh, they
I'm
lost
hopeful for that.
123 billion.
Wow.
I was way off. Wow. That's a lot of money, guys.
Wow.
That is a lot.
That is not a little bit of money. That's a lot of money.
That is a lot of money.
That's we want to stick to our our ideologies kind
You
of losses and going, maybe we shouldn't.
You would hope that they learned something from that, but I don't know if they.
Well, what was the latest thing that happened in Florida? Was it Ron DeSantos? Like he basically are going to be charging Disney full price now for land tax and everything.
Oh yeah, because Disney essentially is like, because like the area they own for Disney World, they're essentially like the government right there.
They're kind of like it's very similar like to like Washington D.C. or like
Yeah.
the Vatican. Like they're their own kind of like entity
Yeah.
outside of the state.
Yeah, it's a little weird.
Yeah. What you want to bring up an article? Because I don't
Yeah,
really know a ton about. I just saw
looking
the
it up.
headlines kind of a deal. So I just basically heard or read a headline or something that Disney was going to be having to pay full property taxes, and now it's going to be a part of Florida now instead of its own entity.
Yeah, I'm looking to see.
I think in the past when they first were making the deal with, Walt himself, that they were going to give them a huge tax break on the land there so
Yeah.
that they could bring, because this was going to be a tourist attraction, they were assuming that they were going to bring a lot of people into that state to, increase revenue and stuff like that. I think was originally what was going on. So, but yeah, like
I can't
that's,
find it.
so that's two big hits on Disney over the last like couple of years.
Yeah.
Like that's some like serious kicks in the, what. So I'm kind of curious
I'm liking
how they're going to pivot.
This is why I'm kind of really liking that a lot of independent studios and creators are getting their chance to really like be pushed into the limelight rather than all these big corporate entities like Disney, Fox, Warner Brothers, Universal, because they've always been in charge of the Hollywood space,
Right.
essentially. And now we're getting a lot more independent stuff. We're getting more independent animators. You have the studio A24, which does a lot of horror and drama films, but they support a lot of indie creators
Yeah.
to like get people started rather than just relying on what's already big.
Yeah.
And I think that's way better for the industry.
Yeah. I think there was a big hindrance in the industry around the time Clinton was in office because it basically got to the point where the government was so in bed with Hollywood that they forced a lot of these smaller studios to basically be bought up by the larger studios. So
Yeah,
it
and that's
literally
why
went,
like they all own everything.
yeah,
now.
it literally went from like 40 or 50 studios down to like 5.
Yeah. And
Like
I hate
the
that.
big major ones. And that was a huge, like, yeah, they made a ton of money. And I'm sure the government had a part in it. I mean, I'm not 100% on that, but I know that there was an acquisition where they were all lumped up into, just
Yeah.
several huge conglomerate companies. That was a huge detrimental hit to storytelling and like how things get produced and how things like end up into the filmmaking process, because a lot of it was all done in-house and most of it, just kind of like what we're seeing right now, where we went from seeing a lot of like independent companies, a lot of independent and like new and fresh stories and new different characters and progressions and like different backdrops and thematics, and that all changed to where it was, you know, every film and story kind of seemed like it was the same, just different people playing those parts.
I think especially in the case of like Disney, it's now everything has to fit under the Disney brand.
Yeah.
And so it's like Pixar used to like be very like
independent.
Yeah, they were associated with Disney a lot with like the Toy Stories and Monsters Inc. And then they got bought by Disney.
Yeah.
And so now they really have to like follow Disney's rules essentially rather than being what they want.
It used to not be that way.
Yeah.
Pixar was, although it was used, I don't know if it's completely, you'd have to look this up because I'm pretty sure that it was a separate studio for a while.
Yeah.
Disney bought it, or at least took a good chunk out of it, but they still operated as a separate entity.
Yeah, like they still made...
It was like Disney Pixar.
Yeah.
But it wasn't like just Disney. It was still the Pixar studio, Pixar people.
And they still mainly do. However, it's
definitely not anymore.
Yeah, because it's like Marvel. They're
very clear.
Because it's like Marvel and Star Wars. Both of those are technically their own separate studios, but Disney now has like they have the final say on anything. So if it's not fitting the Disney brand, they're not going to allow it.
Which kind of sucks because you can definitely feel in a lot of Marvel movies, this is a Disney movie.
Yeah, it's like
Star Wars too. I remember seeing The Last Jedi opening night.
Yeah,
and that movie.
There are so many problems with the...
Which sucks, because I thought The Force Awakens was great, and I thought that one was going to lead to a really good new trilogy.
So you guys remember the opening for The Last Jedi when Poe like flies right up to
the ship and like
ship,
bombs them? I love that scene,
and he's
sick.
messing with them, and he's like, we're breaking up here, and I was like, this is a Disney movie.
Yeah.
You could feel it right then and there.
I think I agree with you. With The Force Awakens, I think they could have done very little to make that a good to a great film. And I do agree with you. It was definitely a decent start.
Yeah.
And then they threw it all out the window.
Yeah, then they just decided, screw that plan. We're doing something else. I'm like, what?
Yeah, and I love Adam Driver. I don't like the way that they directed him. It's the same thing with
so excited
with
for his new
Christensen.
movie.
It was the same deal with Christensen, with him being Anakin in the prequels. Like the direction was just totally bad.
But he was great.
But he's great in everything else. So you're like, what happened here?
Hayden Christensen is he's not had very good luck when it's come to
his roles.
He does good work. He does a good job.
He's just given bad scripts.
Yeah.
He's given bad stuff to work with.
Yeah.
Like Adam Driver, I think, is the only one that's really made it out as one of the villains from Star Wars.
Yeah.
I think everything he's done has been pretty decent since then.
I think what's kind of funny is you can only be so good as an actor. You can be a phenomenal actor, but sometimes even the best actors can't do much with bad writing.
Oh gosh, what was that one fantasy movie with Robert De Niro? Like he basically was just taking roles to like keep his wife happy or whatever.
That's hilarious. I do not know what that is, but that is
I don't know.
funny.
He was in some kind of fantasy. He was in a bunch of like really bad like C-level movies, like not even close to A-level.
It's in Shark Tale.
Oh my god.
That movie sucks.
That one was not that great, I agree.
So bad.
That was the one Will Smith
voiced
and him and
he voiced a fish.
He voiced a fish.
Yeah.
If I want to watch a fish movie, I'll watch Finding Nemo.
Yeah, there you go.
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I can't remember what it was called, but he was in some kind of weird fantasy movie.
Interesting.
And it was really bad. And it was like he was having interviews on it. He's just like, he's like, I'm just taking whatever roles I can so I can keep my wife happy.
That's hysterical. He's
like,
happy wife, happy life.
Right.
I hate that phrase.
I hate that phrase too, because like You know, I mean, obviously
Jacob's
your
like, I
wife
piss
does
my
need to
wife
be
off
happy,
all the time.
but also you got to be happy too. Like, there's
Yeah.
got to be some give and take. There's got to be some compromise. You know, sometimes one
You are
person
not
has to
responsible
sacrifice,
for
sometimes
anyone
the other
else's
person has to
happiness.
sacrifice,
Yeah.
You know,
It's like the greenest flag I look for in any woman now is if they acknowledge the existence of men's mental health.
yeah, or men problems.
Yeah.
You know,
That
It's
kind of
like-
leads us into our next topic. Kai.
Really.
Well, I was actually because we've been kind of sitting on this topic of storytelling, so I was gonna.
That's fair. If you don't
Skip-
want to, if we want to keep on storytelling, that's
Well,
fine.
I was gonna skip this topic
Mm-hmm.
because I wanted to lead this into The Last of Us.
Oh, okay.
Since we're on the topic of storytelling, I wanted to ask you guys:
Yeah.
Are we all caught up on The Last of Us?
Yes.
so
yeah, just other than today's
Other
episode.
than
Yeah. So tonight's episode, when it comes out, actually features the voice and motion capture actor for Joel in the video game.
Oh,
That's
okay.
sick.
He's in this next episode. So,
That's cool.
Troy Baker, great voice actor. He's played so many different characters. I guarantee you, there's been like
I swear. it's-
several video games.
Him
that he's
and
voiced.
Nolan North are like everybody.
Yeah, he was. He played the Joker in Batman: Arkham Origins,
Oh, sick.
like the young version of the Joker.
Mm.
What else has he done? I mean, he played a character in the Uncharted video games too.
Oh,
He's done a lot.
I forgot.
What?
I remember.
Who?
Remember I was saying like I had another point, but I forgot.
Yeah. What's the point you were
We
gonna?
forgot about the Eternals.
Oh yeah.
Oh my goodness.
That was a very forgettable Marvel movie. I'm not gonna lie.
It was so below average. It was.
It wasn't a bad movie.
I liked one of the characters.
It was
because
not-
she was deaf and signed, and I was like, she's cool. I like her.
It was not a bad movie.
That was it.
It was not a great movie either.
No,
It's
It was
so
okay.
forgettable.
they tried too hard to give everybody like an equal amount of time.
That's a
And
hard
it
thing
was-
doing.
I
When you're
couldn't.
trying to tell a story, you really need to like have like maybe a duo, maybe a trio of people that you follow.
Yeah, it's
the
hard to do a
main
massive
story.
group
It's
over
impossible
just a movie.
I
in
couldn't
a 2 hour
rate that.
period. Good luck.
I couldn't rate that on a scale of 1 to 10. I feel like I would have to give that one a grade of a C average.
Yeah, it's just mid.
It's like a
It-
5 to a 6 for
It's
me.
it's enough to get you a degree.
It's not unwatchable, but you're not going to really care to watch it again.
It's enough to get a degree. It's not enough to make me want to hire you.
It's possible if they do a follow up to that one, they could bring it back. But the question is, will they?
The only follow up I want to see to that movie is Kit Harington's character and Blade. That's the
Oh,
only
yeah.
follow up I want to see. That's the only follow up I care
He's
for.
just Jon Snow in the MCU.
Pretty much. Freaking Black Knight. Are you kidding me?
I thought that was hilarious.
I
I was like, you're really putting Jon Snow into the MCU? That's hysterical.
I will say I am so
Ingrid
excited.
comes out.
I am so excited for Blade.
nothing, Jon Snow.
That one's gonna be cool.
I am so excited for Blade. That movie is going to be so
You know what
freaking
I'm
cool.
gonna hate is seeing Harry Styles more in the MCU because he was at the end of that movie.
Oh yeah, he was, huh?
I'm not.
I forgot that he's in the MCU now.
I don't want to. I don't like thinking about it, quite honestly. Because he's not a good actor.
I think he was about as good as everybody else in that film. I mean,
He got like 30 seconds of screen time, man.
he got 30 seconds, and he's probably about as good as all the other people that were in
It's
that
not-
film.
It's not even like that he was bad in the scene. I just do not think he's a good actor.
Yeah.
Well,
Good singer, good
Yeah,
musical
yeah,
artist.
for sure.
oh yeah.
Anyway, sorry.
Sorry.
Back to what are we talking about? Last of Us?
That was Last of Us.
I'm glad that we got the thoughts out though.
Yeah, it was gonna bug me. I was seriously bugged.
Yeah. Okay, so what was the most recent thing that we saw? We saw the Left Behind episode.
Yeah.
So, okay. So I remember the video. Sorry, I bring this back to the video game because I love the game so much. But I remember.
Oh my gosh, you nerd! No, I'm kidding.
You nerd! You're in school as a media major. Shut up.
Not me wanting to actually make films.
No, that's
I'm
actually.
I'm like ultimate nerd.
In all seriousness, it's actually really freaking cool. No, but like the video game, that episode of Left Behind, when they released the game, they didn't show that when the game first came out. That came out later as the DLC.
It was a dolk.
It was adult.
Adult.
Yeah. So we didn't play the game knowing Riley's story and learning about Ellie's sexuality. We kind of just go throughout the game not knowing that story happened. There's a bit of a time jump, I believe, from the time that Joel gets stabbed, which is a different injury in the game, but more or less the same. Joel gets stabbed, and then we time jump like a couple months, I think, and Joel is still injured. And Ellie's
still dead.
Ellie's taking care of
dead.
him, trying to keep him alive, essentially. And it's in the winter, like in the blizzardy time of the winter too. So I love that they added this episode in.
Like, let's just leave Joel here.
Yeah.
He's fine.
So what are you guys' thoughts on the show? What are you guys thinking? How do you like this? How do you like the show so far?
I'm liking it so far. I don't know much about the original game. I've kind of wanted to watch gameplay from the game so I can understand like the differences.
PewDiePie.
Yeah, which is probably what I'll do. It's probably what I'll do after it's over, just so I can make like an in detail review of it, and I'll probably watch gameplay so I know both sides. But I like it so far. I think it's pretty well done, just like as a standalone show, as its own thing. I kind of like it. I think it'll kind of bring back. It's kind of brought back like the zombie apocalypse type style, but in like an entirely different way than like The Walking Dead did.
Yeah.
And so it's sparking like, because like when The Walking Dead came out, there was a bunch of zombie shows that then followed. And what I kind of expect is a lot of that is going to happen again, but try and do it in a more story-based way, like how The Last of Us is doing.
Yeah. I like how they base the virus off like an actual fungus virus
that makes zombies out of insects.
That is legit. Look up the
I know
fungus, the cordyceps fungus. It is terrifying. You ever see that in bugs?
Yeah.
Shit's so scary.
It's so gross.
I definitely will agree. It's like probably the most believable as far as like, zombifying people through fungus. I think it's probably
weird.
Yeah, I think it's great. I think it's great that they have that in a series now. I think it's a good series. I think it's for the most part pretty solid. I would probably give it average to above average, maybe a 7 or an 8 right now. And honestly, it's not about Ellie's sexuality. I thought they kind of led into that pretty well. As far as that particular episode, so I don't really have too many problems there. I think the only thing I'm kind of struggling with the storytelling is that they're setting it up where they bring in a bunch of characters
and they kill them,
and then they kill them off. So they're kind of developing a pattern. So, and part of the reason that I'm struggling with that is because they're not stretching these out enough to really bring these characters in and really develop them, and you be either attached or angry at or anything. It's just like, here's a character, they die.
That was my thing.
So that's the only biggest thing. Oh,
I don't think it was the last episode, but the one previous with Sam.
Oh yeah.
Because I've heard like a lot of people like that episode like makes them cry, and like in the game it makes them really sad. But having just one episode to develop our relationship with him did not make that. I didn't feel anything. I was like, oh, I kind of liked this character. I was hoping to see more of it. But it wasn't like, oh, man, I'm so sad now. And like I grew so attached to this character because we didn't have that time to flesh it out.
Yeah.
And so it's like they want you to feel for him, but you spent only 40 minutes with this character.
Yeah. I feel like they need to draw it out between at least 2 or 3 episodes before they start killing people off.
Exactly.
I feel like it's too sudden and too quick. But I can understand why they're doing it. They're trying to be kind of more true to the game, where they kind of set it up, you go through the process, the storytelling,
and then kill them.
Then you go to the next scene.
They die.
Yeah. So I understand that's kind of where they're trying to blend game versus, TV series and kind of bring them both together. But I'm just saying, like, from a storytelling standpoint, it's very jarring, and you don't really get attached to the other characters that they bring into it, which is unfortunate. Probably the most I've been able to get attached to a character is probably the one with Riley and her.
Yeah.
That one, when Joel gets stabbed, that's probably the best one so far of like really connecting with that character and being really sad when they die.
Yeah, because it's like they're on a date essentially. Is how the episode was treated, and it's like Riley is showing Ellie all these wonders that, like, this is a 14-year-old kid. She's never seen these kinds of things before. Like, she in her bedroom, Ellie has a Mortal Kombat 2 poster. And Ellie's never played a video game in her entire life.
Right.
But, like, the poster looks cool as hell, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, imagine...
That's what I would do. Let's just have a cool-ass poster.
Yeah, so imagine having, like, this poster or a comic book that is, like, the coolest shit, and then you go to an arcade, and
you get to see it.
You get to play it.
Right.
So it's as a kid too. Like, you got
I connected very well with that, with the way that they portrayed that story. Like, I totally connected to it for sure.
Yeah, like, even just like the pun book. You're
Yeah.
in a
I love
world
that.
where the world is going to shit, and you have this little thing that gives you some kind of...
You're still managing
like,
to make a
yeah.
good time.
Yeah, it gives you some kind of escape, right? And then the merry-go-round, like... Yeah.
Like, for my generation, for joke books, we did ad libs.
Oh,
you
yeah.
guys-
I love that. I have those.
I'm glad you guys even know what those are.
Yeah.
So I just thought those were always super fun. You get a noun, adverb, or action word or whatever, and you just get random words from your friend.
Like the
and you get this-
stupidest stories.
Yeah.
It's so fun. So that's why I connected to that so much, because like arcades and stuff, I was very connected to that when I was growing up. I loved going to the arcades and like playing the different arcade games. My favorite was always Turtles in Time.
Yeah.
That was my go-to game. I didn't really get into the Mortal Kombat stuff. Just growing up, like we weren't really allowed to have that kind of stuff. So
Yeah.
I kind of stayed
Dude,
away from
you
that. So it
you
was
can't
like
be killing
so it was like the
people brutally.
Jurassic Park like games, or like I think at that time, what was the big games at that time? Aliens. Aliens was big at that time. So you were shooting aliens, so that was okay because the blood was green. And Turtles in Time. Let's go. The other episode I really didn't connect with was the one. What was the guys' names?
Bill and Frank.
Bill and Frank. That episode,
I'm not gonna lie, that was one of my favorite episodes.
I'm not,
Really?
Yeah, that was my favorite episode. so
Really? Like, for me, like, I think the way that the story was told and everything was fine. I think it was either the direction with the two actors that just kind of threw me off. I didn't really see the connection
So
through those two individuals.
I think that's kind of why that was kind of the point.
yeah.
I watched like a video essay on this
Oh, okay.
recently about like, not even like because of this episode. It was way before even we sent out the topics. But so with those characters, because it's not like, because we've seen like gay couples in media before.
Yeah.
But we're not used to seeing them like that. Like, it's a whole different kind of thing because you have the
What do you mean by like that? Because
You watch them grow
they're
old
more
together.
they're more manly,
Yeah,
like, or
that.
more masculine.
You
I
get
guess
the
we
more
could say.
masculine. It's essentially what is the trope? It's the straight man. So it's a very masculine man. Bill was very masculine. He's a survivalist.
Frank is feminine.
Exactly. And so you're not exactly used to seeing that kind of gay representation in media nowadays. And so it kind of throws everybody off, but it definitely happens. It's just not as common as we realize. And so it creates a different dynamic with those kind of characters. And yeah. There was more to it, but I'm forgetting all about the
That's okay.
video essay. But
that was kind of the same way that they did with David and Patrick in Schitt's Creek, where Patrick was the more masculine and David was the more feminine. I think David was also questioning his sexuality at the beginning of the story, at the beginning of the series. And so he was bi, so he was with a girl and that didn't work out. And then he was with some other guys that didn't work out. And then here comes along Patrick, who's, gosh, what did he do? I forget. I think he was like some kind of person that gives you the permits for buildings for doing a business or something like that. Some kind of government thing. But he always wore jeans and and flannel and stuff like that. So he was more masculine and David was more feminine. So he wore blouses and stuff like that. But I got that connection with them. Even though the people that played those characters, actually believed what I was seeing. And with
Bill and Frank.
With Bill and Frank, I did not get that. I felt like they were both kind of a little bit more apprehensive. As far as having a connection when they were more intimate with each other. I just did not see the connection. I felt like they were both still very apprehensive. And so I don't know if it was the two individuals that were playing the characters that were just oh, this is not really for us, or
I can see that,
or what the case was. But I have seen
the chemistry wasn't
the
exactly
chemistry
there.
definitely was not there, and you could definitely see it in their eyes, the way they portrayed, the different scenes. I'm just these guys aren't into each other. You're supposed to act in a way where you can believe what you're seeing on the screen, and for me, it just didn't translate the way that they were hoping to translate it for me personally. And I'm not saying I have to be led to water as hard to get to the point where I can connect with, same-sex couples or whatever the case may be. For me, it's about what I can see in their eyes. How are they acting around each other? And for me, they seem very apprehensive. They didn't feel like there was a connection there. I didn't feel like they really cared for each other. And it was just kind of a partnership of convenience more than they actually cared for each other.
Yeah, I can understand that.
But that's just me. I mean, this is just one dude just giving his opinion. But again, for the most part, I really do enjoy the series, though. I really do.
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah, 7 or an 8, somewhere around there.
I'd give it the same for sure.
Oh, what was the second episode with
Tess?
with Tess? Oh man,
that was tough, huh?
That was tough.
I connected with that one very, very well, and I really feel like that was I feel like that could have been a 2-parter, because I really saw that connection as far as they were partners, they were focused, they're we're getting shit done, and then she had to make that sacrifice so that they could get away.
I like that.
That's the introduction to the core of the show is supposed to be Joel and Ellie.
Yeah.
And them traveling across the United States together, right?
Yeah.
So it's Joel.
America.
So the beginning of the show, we see Joel lose his daughter, right? And as the apocalypse starts, eventually we don't really, we kind of know how he meets Tess with this other group of people, and Tess becomes his next thing that he cares about.
Right.
His woman.
Yeah. So Joel, with Joel's character, it's he's the character that always has to protect someone.
Right.
He's the
savior.
It's the savior complex, right?
Yeah.
So he failed to protect Sarah.
Yeah.
And then the next thing you know, he failed to protect his romantic partner, Tess.
So she was supposed to be a romantic partner?
So they don't.
That's what the vibe seems to be.
She crawls into bed with him, and is holding him. So to me that was supposed to mean
Was that in the episode or was that in the game?
That was in the episode.
That was in the episode.
Really?
She crawls into bed with him.
Maybe I missed that one. That scene.
Yeah, he was passed the hell out after taking a bunch of drugs and drinking a bunch of alcohol.
Oh, I definitely missed that scene.
As you do in a zombie apocalypse.
I must have went to the bathroom and forgot to.
So he
Get
passed.
rewound. I'm about to go rewatch that.
Yeah, so he passed out. Tess crawls into bed with him. So it's like a hint. It's in the game. It's not really talked about. Like you kind of assume, but
Okay.
they don't really
They
talk
don't
about it a
really.
whole much. In the show, that's where they kind of explored a little bit more. So Joel fails to save his daughter. He then again fails to save Tess, and now Ellie has become this next thing that he has
And
to
she's
protect.
a kid.
Pedro
And she's a
Pascal is just
kid.
collecting orphans.
So many memes about that, right?
I love that. It cracks me
So
up.
like freaking Pokemon.
Exactly.
But but that's the thing, because like the resentment is there because it's this. She's this teenage girl that was about the same, more or less the same age as Sarah when he lost Sarah. Excuse me.
You're
So
excused.
thank you.
I got you.
So this episode, like we talked about, the episode where we see Henry and Sam die, right? Like Sam dies
Yeah,
because he's infected.
That was a rough episode too.
Yeah, so it's tough because you're watching these two characters that like all they have is each other, and you can tell Joel throughout the episode. Joel's getting a little bit hopeful that he might have a new friend
Yeah.
to like have his back. Being that friend being Henry. Granted, Henry's a little kid that has never done anything violent in his life, which I don't know how he survived in the apocalypse, but he managed to somehow. And then obviously Ellie's never, like Ellie doesn't. We kind of learn in Left Behind that Ellie's only friend was Riley,
Yeah.
and now she has another one, which she's hopeful for. Like her new friend is going to be Sam,
Yeah.
and
And then he dies.
and then he dies. So it's like,
I did like Sam though. He was great.
That kid.
I loved that the kid's actually deaf too, which
Yeah.
was sick.
I hope that kid gets more roles in Hollywood, not just because he's deaf and can sign, but because he's a good actor. He really
So good.
He did
does
really
a
good.
And
great
it's
job.
it's hard. It's hard to find good kid actors.
Yeah, because most of the
he's
time, kid
phenomenal.
actors are terrible.
Yeah.
That kid is phenomenal.
He was
Yeah.
great.
He's great. Yeah.
Yeah.
But so like at the end of that episode, we see Joel burying these two bodies,
Yeah.
and it's like going forward, Joel's terrified that that's going to be him and Ellie.
Yeah.
And of course, we get to this next episode where Joel gets stabbed, and he's not going to make it.
Well,
Like,
we
that's a
forgot
fatal
about the
wound.
episode between there when he meets up with his brother in Wyoming, right?
Yeah, that's a whole
So
thing.
that was a whole thing, and then he's just like, "You need to take care of Ellie. I can't do this."
Yeah.
And then she's like, "What the F?"
Yeah, I think I love that switch though. Like in the show where you have that scene in the bar where Joel is like being pretty cold to Tommy, right? Like
Yeah.
he's
Oh,
having this
yeah.
whole conversation of like, you can come with me, like we can take her to the Fireflies together.
Yeah.
And Joel has some resentment for Maria, the wife, because it kind of feels like she's the one that's kept Tommy off the radio from communicating with Joel.
Yeah.
And he walks out of the bar all pissed off that Tommy's now going to get the chance to do what Joel did and failed at. But when he walks out, he sees this woman that has that same hairstyle as his daughter.
Yeah.
And it's like he goes into this panic attack kind of phase and realizes that it's not her. Like, obviously, no shit, it's not her. He's having a daydream.
It's like the first time he's ever been like vulnerable, like in the whole show.
But that's the switch, because then he turns around later on in the show, goes to Tommy, and that's when he pleads with him.
Yeah.
And begs him, like tells him, I can't do this.
Yeah.
Yeah. So many parallels that I think are really freaking cool. Like,
it definitely expands the character progression and changes in Joel, which is really good because he kind of felt very one-dimensional, like through every episode. I'm just like, this is going to get really, really boring if they kind of stick with this. And then they hit me with that, and I was like, oh, nice.
it's the brother thing,
They're-
especially
Some more dimension to Joel. Thank you.
They were
especially
like, he's a one-track mind, and then they're
Yeah.
like, psych,
I
he
have
has
to
more
protect
thoughts.
Ellie.
especially if you have
I'm
a young,
Batman.
especially
Where were the other drugs going?
Where were the other drugs going?
Especially
Joker.
if like you have a younger brother or like a younger brother figure in your life, you can kind of relate to that in that
Yeah.
sense of like
Yeah, I
that
want to
re-
beat him. No, I'm kidding.
the resentment is there, but also like that, like I'm glad that we have each other's backs in a type of way. So
Yeah.
So do you guys think that Joel's gonna make it?
No, he gonna die.
Well, he's got to make it.
He
They got to have a season 2, or is this just going to be a one and done kind of thing?
Well, didn't
I don't know.
Bryson? Can you look it up? I'm pretty sure they got greenlit for season 2.
They did get greenlit for season 2.
Okay.
Yeah, I was going to be very surprised if they didn't make it to season 2.
That did get greenlit. So.
Yeah. Okay.
I will say season 2. I'm very much more open because the way like the second Last of Us game was a non-linear storytelling. They go
I've
back.
heard that one like was also like a bit almost like a letdown for some people.
It was very divisive.
Yeah,
in
like
the Last of Us
it was
community.
just different.
I think like because they in the second game they jump ahead like 5 years.
Yeah.
But while they're telling that story, they're going back and showing previous memories of like what was happening in between the time of the first game and what's happening in the second game.
Yeah.
So I think what they'll do is they'll tell a more linear storytelling, and I don't think that they'll actually tell the whole story of Last of Us Part 2, the video game. I think they'll save that for a later season.
Yeah, it'd be hard for them to go from linear to non-linear.
Yeah.
In a TV show format. You can do that in a game. You can't exactly do that for a show.
It's
You'd
just
have to
better.
be-
It's just better storytelling, and it's better for the viewer and the audience. I think overall.
Anthologies are hard to
Yeah.
really build.
So
Yeah.
the first game, Ellie's 14. She's 14 in the show. And in the second game, Ellie's 19 or 20. So it's hard. I don't know how they would tell a non-linear story. I hope they don't tell a non-linear story. I hope they go for like they show in between the years.
And I actually probably would have liked the show even more. I probably would have bumped it up another half or a full point if they took all those flashbacks and just did them all at the beginning.
I agree.
Yeah.
Like
honestly.
it just breaks up the storytelling.
It's
like,
hard
too
to have
much.
a good flashback.
Yeah, because like
Yeah.
the first episode, it was like telling Sarah's story, killing her off, and then jumping 20 years, right?
Yeah.
So, like, I would have loved to see a little bit more of Joel and Tommy's story of like how did they end up in Boston?
Yeah.
Because that's a big jump going from the middle of Texas to now Joel is in Boston.
Yeah, that's
How?
a couple thousand miles away.
Yeah. So I would have loved to see, because there's that scene when they're driving and Joel's telling Ellie the whole story of how he ended up in Boston. I would have much preferred to see that.
Yeah.
I think
It's a very
it probably.
classic.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
It's a very classic show don't tell. We don't need to hear it. Let's be shown what happened.
Yeah.
Yeah. And honestly, I think they probably could have gotten away with doing the whole first season, like building up all of these things,
Mainly as backstory.
and then at the end, the season finale, it's now him and Ellie. That could have been really good, and build all that up, build those relationships, bring in all the characters that you're going to see throughout, the next 2 or 3 seasons, and then start with them going out on their own.
I think that would have pissed off all the gamers.
Oh, 100% it would have.
I think it also absolutely would have worked as a great story.
Yeah.
So, and that's coming from someone that loves the video
Yeah,
games.
I think that
Because
would
there's
have been
just
a
so
really
much.
smart
There's just
idea.
so much stuff in between. Like you said, there was like 1,000 miles that they skipped over.
I think
know?
even like if you had like done it so like that you're getting like both of their backstory, so it's like basically half of each episode. They're going back and forth and
Between Joel and Tommy.
of Joel and Ellie.
Or they could have.
Oh, yeah.
They could have followed
and then having
three
them meet it.
stories.
Exactly.
They could have done the whole Lord of the Rings like style and followed Ellie's story, Joel's story, and his brother Tommy's story.
Yeah, and
and
then
kind
you
of
show
going
them all.
and merging
And then
up together,
getting together. Yeah.
and then Joel and Ellie go out at the end. That's the season finale.
I think that would have been good.
Yeah.
That would have been I think and then you could have seen all these cool characters. Like you would see a lot more of Tess. You would have seen a lot more of the Fireflies, a lot more of Fedra. Like you would see all of those things brought into the storytelling.
Mm-hmm.
The actress that plays Tess too,
she's a great actress.
really,
She is.
Really sad. The voice actor that played Tess in the video game died recently.
Oh, that's
sad.
unfortunate.
She was brilliant. But this actress that plays Tess in the show does a good job of like, Joel's this angry killing machine.
He's this hard-hitting man.
He's like he's the muscle, right? But Tess is like what's leading him.
She's the brains.
Like we can see that in like their first conversation when she's talking about like when she got jumped, and Joel's like about to lose it, but she gets him to calm down, and you could tell if like she can, if she can kind of point where the muscle is going to be directed. Like she goes, I need you to take a breath.
Yeah.
And then freaking loses that at the very end. So it's like, well, now Joel's a bit of a wild card at this point. So good luck.
But I understand why they did it. Like I do. I mean, I know what I would do in these situations, but what I do is definitely different than what other people are going to do.
Yeah. I love the show. I love the way that they're telling the show, the story, telling the show. Probably, and I might be saying this because I'm biased and love the game, but I mean, like, it's probably one of my favorite HBO TV series that I've seen.
I agree, actually. It's one of my favorite shows I've seen.
There's definitely a lot of Walking Dead-esque feel to it.
But better. They do it better.
Yes, I agree.
Walking
I don't know. The first few seasons of Walking Dead were pretty awesome.
Oh, they were really solid.
Yeah.
Like the first 3 to 5 seasons were just like, could this not get better?
Season 2 and 3 were really good. I think what really turned me off from Walking Dead was the fact that they were spending one episode telling the
Stop acting like you
arc.
know how it works out here, like you know the rules. Let's face it, man, we're lost. I love that clip that's been going around on TikTok. It's so good.
They got to a point where they were just their seasons were spending one episode. Each episode was telling the story of one character, and then eventually they all wound up. I don't like that. I want to see a little bit of everyone sprinkled out throughout the season.
Yeah.
Like I don't like this whole. We're gonna spend one episode with Rick. Okay, his story's done. Now we're gonna spend another episode with Carl. Okay, he's done. We're gonna spend another episode with freaking the priest. I forget his name. Gabriel. Yeah. I did not like that style of storytelling.
Oh my gosh, I watched like this last season, and I'm glad it was the last season. I was getting so lost half the time. I'm like, what is happening?
Everything after the weird write-off of Lincoln's character, like Rick, I'm just like, where do we go from here?
I was like, it could have just ended there. Like that would have been fine. It honestly would have been fine.
Honestly, if they just took that season and just be like, all right, guys, we're done here. This is going to be our last season. We're going to do it right. We're going to go out with a bang.
If they
just ended it.
Have his character arc just completely end, and that's the show.
And he dies.
Exactly. He sacrifices himself, and that's it.
They could have ended there. They could have even ended at like, we're now settling in Alexandria, and this is where we're going to be at now. We're going to be rebuilding society from here, and that's it.
That would have worked too.
They ended it this last season like with clips of Michonne and Rick, like just off, like writing letters to. What's her name? Judith. And it was so weird. I was like, what? It's like 5 minutes at the end of the last episode. I was like, what was the point of this?
Okay. The other thing they could have done is fast forward about 20 years and the story being told from Judith and Michonne's like perspective.
That would have been fine.
That would have been cool with that.
Because they jump ahead like 8 years or something. In one of those seasons.
And they could have done that when Rick was written off, write him off at the end of that season and then start kind of Judith's arc.
I think that's what they were going for, but it was not executed very well.
No,
but I think The Last of Us will do good next season, and then hopefully if they get greenlit for a third season.
Yeah.
I'm excited for the second season, and I kind of hope they keep the core writers on, but I hope that they kind of bring it out to like 2 or 3 episode chunks instead of episodes that are like one and done. Like I hope they like build more characters and keep more characters around
To actually like give us time to learn and feel the characters.
Because
like I get you got to kill everybody off because everybody's dying.
It's an apocalypse. It's an apocalypse show. That's what they got to do.
Exactly.
The whole
Kill
point
everybody.
is they're moving from one end of the United States to the other. They're going from like the goal is to go from Boston all the way to freaking Wyoming.
Yeah.
And then Colorado, and then they
Everybody
hinted
say
at
Colorado.
then they hinted at Salt Lake City. So I mean,
Yeah, who knows where they're going to end up.
We're coming
I
to the
think
land of Jesus.
if I'm thinking of the game correctly, I have an idea of where these next 2 episodes are going to go. But if they're going to tell the story right, they either have to be really long episodes or they're going to have to deviate quite a bit from the game, which is fine. I think the deviations that they've made have been good for like telling the story in a TV show version. So
That's good.
like I think that's what made the Bill and Frank episode work so well for me, is because like that section of the game is basically just Ellie and Joel going into Bill's town, and Bill's on his own, and Frank is hinted at as like a romantic partner that eventually just left, and eventually you find Frank dead in the game.
Yeah.
But like if you were to have that in a TV show, you'd be so bored.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah, but at least if they had them meeting up with Bill, them leaving and then introducing it later, and then them coming back and them being dead, that would make more sense, like chronologically in our minds, instead of
The one and done episode.
I would have really liked to have seen Ellie and Frank interact, because like Frank is this character that kind of guides Bill, like as a shepherd. He shepherds Bill into his sexuality, right?
Yeah.
He helps him feel comfortable in his own skin. I feel like Frank would have been able to recognize that in Ellie, and been able to like kind of be a mentor for her in that kind of sense. I feel like they would have worked really well together on screen.
Yeah.
I'm kind of bummed that we didn't get to see that, but I understand why they did it, why they ended the story the way that they did, but
Just got to progress the story.
Cool. Yeah.
They got to get from point A to point B.
Yeah.
That's what you got to do.
I'm hopeful for the rest of the series.
Me too.
Once we're out of here, I'm going home and I'm watching the next episode.
Yeah, me too.
Let's go. Let's go. All right. Any final thoughts, Bryson? Or are you good?
I think we're chilling.
All right. Let's go. Well, thank you guys so much for watching another episode of the Periodic Review. I am your host, Jay Rhymes, Mr. Bryson, Mr. Alakai, of course, Miss Rianne as well. Hopefully you've earned your subscription today, so don't forget to like and share this video, click that red subscribe button, hit that bell to turn on notifications so that you don't miss a content release. You can send us all of your topic ideas to theperiodicreview@gmail.com. And from our family to yours, good night.
Bye.